Welcome everyone to my weekday chess stream here on lichess and Twitch. This is International Master William Paschall. We're streaming blitz and classical chess here with the viewers. We're going to be commentating and bantering about the games. I'm welcoming all challenges between 5 and 8 minutes with a small increment, something like 3 to 5 seconds. And again, welcome, good morning everyone. Sorry I'm a couple minutes late again. Late is inexcusable in my book, but for me there's an excuse. So anyway, we're going to get started today, and I've got a couple challenges from Booker Smith at Chess 960 and M477 in normal, casual, standard chess. So listen, if you want to play Chess 960, I don't mind playing 1 or 2 games every normal stream that I do here. So the Chess 960 is an option. And I'm going to play Booker Smith first. We're going to get warmed up here. Don't forget, guys, I have a YouTube channel if you'd like to check it out. My channel is Video Chess Training on YouTube. So if you don't know Chess 960, the pieces are randomly set up on the back rank for both sides, mirror image. We have always to evaluate the initial position carefully before we choose our first move. Castling is possible. This knight is not well placed. Knights in the corner, very difficult to get in the game in Chess 960, and in normal chess too if they happen to find their way to the corner. The other pieces don't seem all that badly placed. You could even play this kind of position without castling, maybe like using the rook actively with h4, something like that. But we still need to control the center as in normal chess, so I had a very similar starting position last week where I opened with c4 and knight c2 coming. This bishop's on its normal square on c1. Black reacting with knight b6, attacking my c4 pawn. I would think that's a reasonable option. I'm going to play b3. Gives us the option to fianchetto. So very hyper-modern game in prospect here. Good morning, Booker Smith. What would have to happen for us to be willing to play atomic? What would have to happen? I'd have to have a frontal lobotomy or something. Alright, d5. d5, and let me just hope that the video is good. Welcome, Saronche. Yeroen, how are you? Our moderator is back today. And back better than ever. Now let's think about taking this guy. You've got a knight in the center, powerfully placed, but no center pawns to speak of. So it's not a bad trade-off. I don't mind destroying that potential central pawn. You do get a strong knight in the center, but we can live with that. Maybe he'll get kicked out eventually later. I don't want to defend passively with like d3. Wow, he plays this. Knight d6. Okay, this deserves some consideration now. So it's possible to play e4, but I'm developing no pieces, and it looks like the kind of position where Black might get some counterplay with gambit type ideas. If I play e4, Black could break with several different moves like f5, e6, c6, all these pawn breaks. Well, interesting move. I would recommend just simply taking, but okay, this is provocative. Maybe not entirely bad for Black. I could play e4, e6, pawn takes e6, bishop takes e6. I'm up a pawn with no development to speak of. Or e4, f5, a little more combative than maybe d3. I think it's a principled approach for me to keep this pawn, though. Not really sure what else to do. I could just ignore it, let him have the pawn back. Saronche, all fine here. How about yesterday? Oh, you had a party and overslept. Sounds good. No, everything was fine, man. You're definitely entitled to a day off now and then. And it went really smooth. But I still prefer to have you around. So you didn't lose your job. E4, E5. Wow, blockading, okay. So it's a full-fledged pawn sacrifice. He's meeting E4 with E5. And looks like we're both going to castle kingside in some fashion. D3. Still no pieces developed if I play D3, but it reinforces my center. Securing this pawn is pretty vital. I think it blocks my queen, and that is a kind of downside, but I didn't see how I'm going to play like knight c2 with my e4 pawn hanging, so we need to really protect that pawn. How am I going to get this knight in the game if the e4 pawn is protected by my queen? That is not clear to me. So the kind of ugly d3. Welcome everybody. I'm International Master William Paschall. We're streaming from Budapest, Hungary. It's Friday, the end of my work week. I have tonight off. It's my night off tonight and tomorrow for the most part. And then back to work on Sunday. I have a stream here in the evening. It's a simul, so I'm playing 20 to 25 players on Sunday evening. Here on lichess, 40 minutes with a 40-second increment. The simul typically lasts about 2.5 to 3 hours. Well, I hope you had a good party, Sironche. Were you throwing the party, or you were just attending a party? I wasn't sure if I had a party means it was your personal party, or you were just attending someone else's party. You throwing parties without inviting me? Bishop f6 here. That looks a little stodgy, honestly. Blocking your f-pawn from possibly attacking my center. And this knight on a1 is really sad. And bring him in the game. Dvoretsky said, the principle of the worst piece. I don't know if he invented this concept or if he borrowed it from someone else, but he taught me that the principle of the worst piece is basically, you simply determine your worst piece. If you don't know what to do or you're stuck at a point in the game, determine your worst piece and improve it. That's what you're supposed to do when you're stuck and you don't know what to do. In this case, obviously my worst piece is the knight on a1, but I wouldn't say I'm stuck here. I have a lot of possible moves, but I just can't imagine the white position functioning without getting the minor pieces in the game. And I think that there's a question about c2 and b3 with knights. I have had this philosophical debate with myself going on for a little while. When knights are stuck on the side of the board, is it better to develop the knight to c2 or b6 if you have the choice? It's something to debate with yourself. If you're bored one day, and don't know what to do, try to ask yourself this question. Is it better to have the knight on c2 or b6? Which is better? Sometimes we have knights like, where would they come from? D4 knight, in the Sicilian you're white most often. And your knight in the center of the board on d4 is attacked by a pawn. Should it retreat to b3 or c2? This is the eternal question. Should you develop the knight to b3 or c2? Which is better? Now here, my other knight deserves to get into the game as well. I have a very bad bishop. This knight is headed for like a3 or e3 and into c4 maybe. But white's just up a pawn. I mean, he played e5 and he played c5. And so black didn't, and blocked his f-pawn. So he didn't achieve any possible break against my center. And I have kind of argument with that. Chess fun, welcome. So I don't think black, should play this in this way that they don't try to destroy my center. I think that this is a mistake by Booker Smith. He's making it so that I remain with a very, very powerful center that's not under any pressure from the opponent, really. I mean, it's attacked by knights, but it's secured by this base of the pawn chain at d3. He has no way to attack the base of my pawn chain. And that center is pretty massive. These three pawns are just like a wall between the other guy and me, and there's no way he can get through. So white's just going to slowly improve here. It's a little awkward about the king. I mean, maybe I play like rook e1 and castle, quote-unquote castle. That's probably the most expedient way of getting all my pieces in the game. g5 now. Okay, g5 hangs a pawn. Other than that, I could see it's like a totally sort of viable idea. I feel like I need to take this because if not, black kind of takes the initiative with g4. So let's eliminate that before it becomes a real problem. And I don't really want to take with the bishop and trade off his bad bishop. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but I think he simply overlooked that it was attacked twice. I don't think this is an intentional sacrifice, and I don't think that black really gets enough compensation if it was. He looks disappointed. He said, "Ah." He was very excited about his aggressive plan to play g5, g4. William, what is your FIDE rating? My current FIDE rating, I believe, is 2371. That was the last published rating in normal chess. I'm not really proud of it. I've lost close to 100 points on my high score, but I haven't played much in the last 5 years or so. So I think if we start playing regularly, we can get back over 24. Kind of my goal is right at this point to gain about 50 points. If I can get up to around 24-20, I'd be satisfied with that for the time being. So I think it's not an unrealistic goal for, like, say, the next 12 months of my chess career to try to gain 50 rating points, to try to go up from 2370 to 2420. If around this time next year I can get up to around 2420, I think that would be somewhat respectable. We try to gain 50 points a year and get back to where I was basically 12 years ago. So knight f3 is the only move, more or less. Bishop g4. I think I'm stronger than 2370 though. I mean, really, in my knowledge, it's not a question. But I never really recovered from a massive rating loss I took in 2003. I was up to around like 2470, and I had two nightmarish results when I lost, like, I don't know, 60 points or something. I never really got it back. Hopefully we can do that. Bishop g4, this is nothing. We can just develop according to plan here with rook e1. Lately, in the last 10 years, my rating has fluctuated a little bit below 2400, but I haven't played very much since 2009, 2010. Okay, so Booker Smith tries something here. I mean, this is logical. He gives up this pawn along the g file and tries to play like rook g8. So I'm going to castle and play king h1, I think. Castle, king h1. I like the way he's playing this. So as a pawn sacrifice, maybe he can play like rook g8, double on the g file. a5 is a bad move. You've got a strike here on the king side while your chances are good. I don't really like a5. It doesn't seem relevant to the situation. So your only chance is to attack me while I'm not really prepared for this king side attack. Objectively, I don't think it's enough. I like knight e3 here, and we're really solid. Look how those pieces are coordinated: rook rook, knight knight, bishop bishop. This is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. These pieces like to be next to each other because they like the fact that they kind of complement each other. That's something you see a lot with strong players, that the like pieces coordinate next to each other very well. They complement each other. They don't get in the way or interfere with each other when they're next to each other like that. So that's something that I openly strive for. Not like I have to put my pieces next to each other, but it's usually good. All right, so rook g1, a little bit of counterplay here for Booker Smith, but nothing realistic. I'm going to bring the queen into the game with queen d1. It'd be a nice comeback to 2400 at least. Yeah, I think that I can easily get back to 2400, but you know what? There's some question about maybe a lot of players when they get older losing strength. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be an issue for me so much, but I'm pretty intense. Knight on d takes c4. It's just giving up pieces here. So Booker Smith is toast. Okay, this wasn't really a correct game by Booker Smith. He dropped a couple pawns in the early stages. I don't know. The initial pawn sacrifice was interesting maybe, but then it was just kind of unsound. Thanks for the game. All right, m4-7. But it's really a question of playing, because I need to play a lot to gain that kind of rating points. I mean, it seems like to gain 50 rating points, I'm going to have to really play quite a lot. Not too much to the point where you get tired out, but at least a tournament every month or two. If anybody knows about any clubs or teams that are looking for a player in Europe, who's around my elo strength, I'm open to offers. So I want to play as much as I can. So if anybody out there knows any clubs that are looking for a player in European club championships or team championships, let me know. That's one way I can try to play. Maybe team matches as well as occasional tournaments. Okay, so m4-7 played b3. Usually he plays the English opening. This is something a little bit unusual. He's trying the Bird Larson type formation here. Our moderator Jeroen likes to play the Bird's opening. Nothing wrong with f4. What am I going back to now in my mind? The last time I faced, let's see, I won a game against Grandmaster Pavel Blatny once really badly. I mean, I crushed him. I think it was a Bird Larson, actually. That was a different formation. I played like d5 on move 1, followed by bishop g4. I think I wasn't really prepared when m4-7 played this b3. I mean, normally I'm generally playing d5, followed by bishop g4. And I think that's a good setup. Kind of a good setup against every sort of b3, g3, King's Indian attack, all this kind of substandard stuff. But I just felt like playing c5. So now we've got no options of the type of setup for black. I'm going to play classically here with d5. The one or two times that I tried to play the Bird Larson with white didn't really work out too well, I think. You gotta be you gotta be very aware of your surroundings. Well, in my country, there are a lot of older players, like 55, 60 years old, which standing good at GM level still. Or are you like from Germany or something? Germany? So I can guess like Germany, Serbia. Knight F3, US. Where would we guess you're from? A lot of players. Yeah, I don't see any reason why you can't continue. And now Knight F3 right away. People are learning chess earlier. Players are getting stronger earlier. But that doesn't mean necessarily that the older players have to get weaker, because the younger players are getting stronger. I think there's this misconception, the youth is sort of taking over the chess world. But, then Anand goes and says that 40 is the new, 50 is the new 40, or 40 is the new 50, or whatever. Anand is lazy, honestly. I mean, he's a talented guy, and he didn't have to work as hard as some players. A Kramnik, is going to keep working harder than Anand. That's why he's still higher rated than Anand, even though they're... Okay, Anand's a little bit older. Anand is like mid-40s, and Kramnik is like 41. But honestly, it's a matter of, I think, work ethic. Anand just doesn't have as much work ethic as Kramnik. I mean, he just didn't really care in those matches against Carlsen. It seemed to me, honestly, Anand just wanted to collect the $1 million and get out of there. He didn't really care about trying to win these matches against Magnus. Okay, so now d4, we're going to really go for it here. Maybe Anand could never beat Magnus, but he didn't really try very hard. That's my feeling. He just kind of gave up. And I think... and for 7, there are really a lot of old chess players in Germany. Yeah, that's true. You have an aging generation, a very large population of aging chess players. I remember seeing, like, a couple weeks ago, there was, like, an upset because, like, Grandmaster Pates, like, the father of the girl... What is her name? Elizabeth Pates or whatever. So the father is a GM, and his rating has like gone under 2,400 or something. But I've seen that guy. He's a good player. He beat some 2,700 or something. But really, if you really think about it, it's not that big an upset. The guy's a grandmaster. Sometimes people forget. Here in Hungary, we also have a lot of aging players who are like grandmasters who are 65 and their rating is like 2,400. These guys can still play chess very well. So e4. Now, I once lost an English defense against Igor Novikov, another aging chess player who sort of dropped off the map. I don't know what happened to that guy. He was 2650, who like won the New York Open one year, and now he's like disappeared. Very strange. Once Novikov just absolutely punished me when I played basically like e4 in an English defense, a reversed version of this type of position. When you play e4 now, you don't have any pressure against my strong point on d4. So it seems like it's a kind of temporary solution, but I don't think that e4 is very dynamic for white. Ultimately, in the English defense, which is what this is basically, I think that normally you should kind of like try to leave the tension somehow to keep the pressure on d4. It's not easy to play against Magnus, but he didn't really try, man. It's just kind of gave up and collect the money. Karyakin is at least going to try. He's going to lose, but he's going to really try, and let's give him credit for that, because he's going to put up a fight. He's young, and he's not just young, but he's motivated. I don't think Anand was motivated. And I don't think Anand played his best, or even close to his best. what he could have done. So I'm happy to see Anand step aside and let somebody else have a crack at Carlsen. I wished it could have been Caruana or Kramnik, someone stronger, who would have a slightly better chance, but c'est la vie. So it's Karyakin this year, but at least he'll try, you know. So we'll give him credit for that. The dad of Elizabeth Pates, yeah. He's actually a good player, and I was like, oh, they were shocked that he beat a 2700 or something like that, but why? You know, the guy's a grandmaster. He's a strong player, even if his rating is 2390 or something. You know, it's not easy to become a GM, so especially not in the time when he became a GM. So it's not really that big an upset. Yeah, you were joking about your club. Well, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of aging chess cultures. You know, like Germany was really chess was really entrenched. The Bundesliga was stronger at some point. I think there's a lot similar kind of situation. Some years earlier, like in the U.S. had this Fischer boom, where there was a huge amount of players from a certain generation encouraged by Fischer's match with Spassky, and if you take the players who are like the generation of players who are now maybe, I don't know, 55 years old, players like Nick DeFermian, Fedorovich, a whole bunch of players kind of came out from this 55, 60-year-old generation of players who grew up watching Fischer. 55-year-old grew up watching Fischer, influenced by, in the U.S., but we have now like kind of new generation of players coming along. Branko Damjanovic, right? I mean, Damjanovic is a legend. Damjanovic is just an absolute legend. Yeah, I mean, so you're from Serbia. I mean, I know. I figured that was like one of my top two guesses. You're from Bosnia, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I know like Sabalo. He's from Serbia, right? He's the same age. But so many Yugoslav players, man. I mean, there's just like an amazing number of grandmasters from the former Yugoslavia that have that generation of 55, 60. And Damjanovic is still like 2,500, but he's a legendary player. Yeah. So we're going to lose on time. I've been chattering too much here. I think I made a little mistake there with castles routinely. Got involved in this conversation, and Malets is also getting distracted. We have knight g4 here. So we got a little distracted with the conversation about the older players. Yeah, I like Damjanovic a lot. Great King's Indian player. And yeah, same thing in Hungary. I mean, a lot of players who are really, really strong. József Pinter, a massive generation of chess players is not really being replaced. The Hungarian school of chess, yeah, there's a massive amount of GMs who are around between like 55 and 60. Now, we should have a good game here. Try to double fianchetto. The problem is he could pick off my pawn on e3 at some point. You can play it as a positional pawn sacrifice. I'm not sure b6 is best. Kind of a little passive. I could have played even b5 in this position. Try to open it up. Maybe b5 made more sense. b5 made more sense, I think, to play queen b6 and try to kind of open this dark diagonal here. So I feel not a good game today. But I think I got Malets distracted. He was talking a lot in the stream while we were playing here. If you guys see these comments about his club and stuff, I feel like I distracted him. Yeah, I think a lot of people assume because there's a lot of kids in chess that automatically means the old guys sort of suck, you know? But it doesn't work like that. It depends on the person. But I think that human beings can probably play chess very well until like 75 in many cases. It just depends. And then other people start to be like, you know, senile when they're like 60. So it really depends. I'm getting senile already. I have some serious memory issues. If that's going to affect my comeback, I'm not sure. I'm serious though. I've noticed that my recall of names and details was never great, but maybe I need to do like kind of these like memory puzzles on the internet or whatever. They have these websites that are dedicated to, you know, like sharpening your memory. Maybe it's not a joke. When I try to recall things like street names, names of people, I really seem like I've lost a little bit of my strength in doing that. So I mean, I'm not seriously senile, but I wonder if it's not a real thing that's going on. I was always better with remembering like visual things rather than auditory things. So there are different kinds of memory, but chess players rely on visual memory a lot more than audio memory. You guys, check out my simul on Sunday here on lichess. Also, my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. I try to upload as many streams as I can. But my M47 is not resigning here. And now, rook c3. So Bosnian. I haven't played very many Bosnian players. I played Ivan Sokolov. I played Borky. Just the best. I drew with Borky in like 2005 in the GM tournament here in First Saturday. Borky Predojevic. Okay, so didn't work out well, but I don't like e4, man. I mean, you should keep the pressure on the center. That's the same thing as an English defense. So we got challenges from Stevis with 5-3 FIDE Master. Oh, maybe that's you. You're actually the one talking to me, FIDE Master Strength. King Wiki, Mule Skinner, and Spieler. All the challenges look legitimate. If you guys want to challenge me, something between 5-3 and 8-3. So, Stevis, this is a blitz game. Blitz casual. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, you can play like d5, bishop g4 against sort of everything, like g3, b3, knight f3. What you want. This is recommended by a lot of players. It's not my favorite for black. It's kind of a little solid. I don't really play the Tory attack with white. But as a defense for black, it's kind of pretty solid option. I'm not sure what the move order here. I mean, I've even seen people like trade on f3 and play sharply for black. I'm not sure about the best move order. Queen c7 is even interesting. I think I've seen this played. Just kind of making this up. Knight on bd2 now. Anyway, the C2 square is not a bad place to be. Kind of useful. Protect E5. Sort of some option to castle queenside. I've seen some players do that, like trade on F3 and play H5, H4, try to attack violently with black. It looks a little bit coffee house. I just felt like trying something different. But I think in a vacuum, I would recommend like omitting Queen C7. I'm not sure that's really necessarily the best move, let's say. But in many cases, the queen goes there anyway. It protects the D6 square when we get symmetrical pawn formation in the center. He plays like E4, D takes E4, D takes E4. Knight C4 threatens to come into D6. The queen like helps. So this is sort of a standard move anyway. One thing I was discussing with my students and myself lately was, the whole reevaluating the whole concept of bishops versus knights. I think as a player, I often overestimated the value of the bishop pair. And now Stevis plays knight takes E4. Okay, let's take a second here to kind of evaluate what's happening here. I expected him to take with a pawn, but he took with a knight instead. It sort of makes sense because he's got the rook on the open file, and he's trying to create some tactical action. On a philosophical level, on a positional level, he's giving up his strong point, which is a little bit of a concession. So, tough call. Taking on E4, unfortunately, would leave my bishop attacked. And the position starts to open up. I don't want to have a situation where I've given up a bishop for knight. So knight takes E4. I'm a little bit concerned about rook takes E4, actually. Maybe I could play F5. He could even do like an exchange sacrifice. Knight takes E4, rook takes E4, F5, rook takes G4. Pawn takes G4, knight G5. Probably not enough, though, for white. But it's looking kind of loose. Knight takes E4, rook takes E4, F5, rook E1. Black's position looks a little bit loose there. It's probably okay, though. Bishop D6, C3. Castle's kingside, and I have to watch out for queen B3 check and my king getting killed with knight G5. So it's kind of tricky. I don't have a lot of time either. Alright, I'm just going to play this quiet move here. Bishop E7. Anyway, if I took with knight takes E4, I'm analyzing like rook takes E4, but he could simply play pawn takes E4, which is probably much better and solid. So I waste a lot of time. I'm kind of playing like it's an 8-minute game here, so I need to adjust to the 5-minute time limit. I think it's probably equal. Knight takes F6, bishop takes F6, D4. Shake hands, That's probably what would happen in a Grandmaster game. Like we agree to a draw after knight takes F6, bishop takes F6, D4. Probably everything's getting traded and the position's like simplifying to an equal game. But C3, not as good. I think not quite as good. He's got a backward pawn along the D file, which, that's why I wanted him to play D4 last move. Oh, this live like it's 5 a.m. Nothing wrong with coffee house chess as long as the coffee is good. I was analyzing Rubinstein versus Doshodmirsky yesterday with one of my strongest students, and he's a master. We were looking at this game that Rubinstein played against Doshodmirsky in a London system, where Doshodmirsky just really played coffee house, man. He was like moving the same piece like 3 times. Just any kind of obvious move, just probably played it really fast. But there's a famous story, the reason I brought it up, there's a famous story that Bronstein tells in 200 Open Games about playing this guy, Doshodmirsky. because he played a King's Gambit with black against Bronstein once. I guess he was pretty old by that point, obviously. It was in like, you know, he started chess in the turn of the century and he was still playing Bronstein like, I don't know, in the 40s or 50s. And he was an old man and he played with Bronstein in some King's Gambit and played blitz against Bronstein and then like made a terrible like oversight in like the first 10 moves. And he just like demanded a take back in a serious tournament, you know, like in some Russian tournament. And Bronstein just didn't know what to do. He accepted the guy the guy's request to actually gave Dusodmirsky a take back in the game. I thought that was awesome. Okay, now we got a problem here, Houston. Once again, things getting pretty bizarre. Oh man, I'm gonna have to play f5. I don't like it. Stevis here has a lot of play. It looks like black has to be very careful. But actually, this last move was silly. I should have played bishop f5. Bishop f5, rook e1, bishop f6, draw. The way I played it is a little riskier. I think that black still might be okay. But no, it's not necessary to play f5. This is a very risky move for me. So I basically, you know, tipped him off to what he should do. Is that even legal in tournament play? No. I don't think it ever was, and it certainly isn't now. Takebacks are not allowed. Takebacks are not allowed. But Bronstein is like a very honorable guy. Was a very honorable guy. So he's playing this legendary old man, and he didn't really know what to do. He was like put on the spot, and anyway, he liked his position. So he said okay, and he let him take it back, and then he crushed him in like 15 moves anyway. So, you know, maybe it would be different if he had a bad position, but Bronstein was a man of honor, and actually, I think the Stevis's exchange sacrifice is a little bit over the top. Now he doesn't have quite enough compensation for this exchange sacrifice. Before it was very, very strong. No, bishop f4 was a good try. Maybe I give the exchange back here. I'm just up a piece. What am I talking about? Well, I'm up the exchange. Okay. Maybe I have to take back on f4. You know, counter sacrifice, but I'm up a piece here. So, but white was on the right track in this game. I don't think my play was really that great. A little bit too risky. f5. Now maybe it was too late for the exchange sacrifice to really be good. But Dusodmirsky was like, he was the legendary, the ultimate coffee house player, apparently. Okay. If you want to read that story, it's in 200 Open Games by Bronstein. Just a brief account of that encounter. It was a King's Gambit. In that time, Bronstein was playing a lot of King's Gambits. I guess the theory was like really developing in the 50s, and Dusodmirsky didn't know, you know, the modern developments in the King's Gambit at all, so he was pretty clueless. And this actually, now black has a little bit of worry. I have to be careful. But I think that I can surround this pawn and just win it. Technically, no way for white to protect this pawn. You can always play g6. And it's going to bite the dust. And then you only have one pawn for a piece. It's not enough. You need 3. And even then it's not easy. Always. sometimes with 2 pawns if they're very powerful. So that's funny though. Bronstein was loved by everyone. He was a very sportsmanlike player. So he's one of the few people in the world who would have considered accepting a take-back request. Wow, what a resourceful move, rook e3 by Stevis here. Actually, how do I win the pawn after that? Let's try this move. KG defense. I like saying that. It's like a boxing match. KG. I have to play g5 now. You trade off one of my remaining pawns, but that's not enough to make a draw. Actually, if you trade rooks, you're lost, so I don't know what you're supposed to do here. It's an ugly situation. For the sake of accuracy, maybe I should play this. I'm not sure if it makes a difference objectively. What's the best move here? Like bishop c3. Go after this guy. Okay, thank you for the game. FIDE Master Strength is up. Played yesterday. Your queen b3 turns out to be a mistake. You probably checked it too, but an unusual way for me to win a pawn in that. I've never actually seen that concept of queen b3, knight takes e4, bishop takes g7, knight c5. I mean, oftentimes in the Accelerated Dragon, you know, when you leave the piece unprotected on d4, there's some sort of tactic for black. But against FIDE Master Strength, I had a very strange tactic I didn't see. He didn't see either. So I could have won a pawn. Other than that, it was a good game. If this situation arises, can you play the Scotch? Yeah, I could try it. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to play the Scotch. I could try it. We could try a request. Okay. Fair enough. We can kind of roll with it. I've never really played the Scotch with white. I have to warn you. And everyone can attest that I play the center game very badly from some recent experiments. On my Weird Wednesday stream when I'm playing unusual openings. Yeah, I had a weird win of a pawn against FIDE Master Strength yesterday. Now bishop e2. This is the book recommendation by John Nunn's, like, Beating the Sicilians or whatever. I think I already have done this before. I've done this before. It's not really the best line. I'm supposed to play queen a5 right away. My bad. I've made this mistake before. Okay, well, I made it again. This is an inaccurate move order for me. I sometimes transpose variations, and I did it again here. But we could transpose back into theory. I think that's what happened here. He didn't exploit my move order mistake. I'm supposed to play queen a5 before knight takes d4, but a lot of variations black plays knight takes d4 first. So I've done this on a couple of occasions that I made the wrong move order against bishop e2. 7 queen a5 I have to play, but I forgot My hand was faster than my brain. I was just like, queen a5. Anyway, we're back into like the normal theory here now, after rook c8. So we can try to play the Scotch with white. It's a good opening, and I think they're going to be seeing more Scotches, and we are already seeing more Scotches and other stuff because of the refutation of chess, otherwise known as the Berlin defense. We're already seeing an uptick in the amount of like Joko piano type games. And who's playing the Scotch? Wait, somebody played it recently. Seth Rahman played it against Short, and I did that game for a video on chesslecture.com. But somebody's playing it on the highest level recently. Can't remember. Alright. Does anybody remember? There's some top player who's playing the Scotch lately. Rook on fd1. This looks like an unusual move. It's not really clear how the other rook's going to get in the game, although there's some lines where white plays a4. Here I have e6 dropping a pawn, but I could play that as some kind of pawn sacrifice. You know, this is actually interesting. e6, queen takes f6, rook g8, but it doesn't look real. It doesn't look real sound. I think I'll play kind of standard move here. Queen c5, trying to trade queens. So, I don't think we're in book here. With rook on f to d1, FIDE Master Strength has left the building. But it looks like a playable move. Nothing blatantly wrong with it. Are you excited for the Carlsen Nakamura online event? Me personally, no. I don't really like hang out on chess.com too much. But I'll be, you know, excited to see if there's some good games. Maybe check it out later after it's over. I'm so busy, I really can't watch like live blitz matches too often. Play my stream, teach my lessons, get a little bit of chess news, and then do some analysis on my own, maybe work some videos. I don't have much time to like really be like a chess watcher per se. Rook d5. I thought you were going to ask me about the World Championship match between Karyakin. But I understand that people are excited because I guess it's never really happened, a Nakamura-Carlsen official blitz match. Rook d5. Who's the favorite? Is Naka the favorite? Is he the better blitz player? We're all going to find out. Now you're making me excited about it. Alright. Rook d5 looks like a good try, but I should probably take. I don't really want to let him take and have to take with the d-pawn here. So, we've got moves. I like this ending for black now. Oh, he has some weird moves here. Maybe f5? I was looking at bishop b5 for white. Check that out, guys. That's an awesome move, is it not? But it's not possible here, you know, when he just drops the pawn on e4. What's your advice to someone who isn't good at offense positions? Play hyper-modern chess, man. I also have a little bit of this problem. I think I'm very good at counter-attacking, but I'm not so good at, like, playing straight up, like initiate attack with white, you know. I'm better at counter-attacking than I am attacking straight up. So I honestly kind of understand your question. I think that, you know, gearing your openings toward that is probably a good idea. So playing more hyper-modern kind of openings where you you let the opponent have the center, and you fight back and counterattack. That's really probably going to suit your style the best. The other thing you have to do is improve your ability, you know, as an attacker, per se. So philosophically, what I don't necessarily want to do here is trade bishops in the wrong situation where I kind of give up my bishop pair advantage. But at the same time, you know, I think that I have to keep my bishop fairly active. I was seriously considering bishop c8, but I mean, it looks really passive, man, to play bishop c8 in this position. So I think that's a little bit too much. Black is slightly better, but I don't think it's anything radical. Probably white will draw, trading my bishop pair. I'll put my pawns on the opposite color of my remaining bishop. But I mean, I have a slightly better position. But I don't think that white is in any danger. He's playing very solidly. FIDE Master Strength. He also played in a very similar style in the game yesterday. Alright, I don't know. Bishop takes, rook takes. I don't really like that. I don't want to bring his rook into the game, although now he did f4, so I feel like now we kind of have to. King takes. Not really sure what my plan is here. Okay, all our pawns are in the right color. It's more or less equal, but I guess black has a tiny theoretical advantage with the bishop against knight. But it doesn't seem like that big a deal, honestly. Played a4 to discourage b5. And now a5. That's sort of weird in a way. Fixing his pawn on a dark square could be risky. You know, I don't really like a5. But it's again maybe just too hard for me to make progress here. This looks very difficult to win for black. He's very fast. Maybe h4 and try to go to the h file. The only move I would really not like he's played is the a5 move. We do have some chances here. So how do I make progress? What a tough defender. My favorite variation is like king b5, rook b4 check, king takes a5, knight b3 mate, which wasn't possible last move. I kind of screwed this up because last move I had that. That was really, really strong. All of my pawns are on the right color. Most of his are on dark squares, which is good for my bishop. Somewhat kind of tactical position here. Not sure. This could easily be not enough pawns on the board for me to win in this kind of position. Yeah, it looks like he has good chances to hold this. Tactical sequence here. Knight takes, I didn't see that. I was just looking at rook d4 check. So knight takes. It's kind of a nasty move. All right. Jeez, dude. Looks like another draw, but it was good defense. It couldn't quite win. Okay, thank you for the game, FIDE Master Strength. Yet another draw, same as yesterday. I think I was better, but not enough to win, perhaps. Maybe you were almost winning at the end too, so could have gone either way. Sorochi had a headache too yesterday. What? I'm hyped about it. Look at some Nakamura's bullet games. And the moves he sees are amazing, absolutely. No, I'm sure if I was watching these kind of blitz matches more regularly, I'd be excited about it. Just haven't really. I've been focusing, not a whole lot on blitz. So you're asking the wrong guy. But I'm sure that it's going to be a real spectacle. Absolutely. I would be hyped about it if I was really into blitz now. But lately, I'm really focusing on analysis and longer games and classical chess, what have you, tournament chess. So Bishop G7, King's Indian. I'm going to have to be playing a lot more King's Indians. I played it in my team game on Sunday. I was happy with the result. I wasn't really confident going in, but I was playing like Nimzo Indian, Queen's Indian in my last tournament, and that's fine, but you can't in today's master level chess, you can't play just one opening. I've got to be able to play King's Indian or Nimzo Indian at any moment. Lag, 36 milliseconds ping. Interesting move order by King Wiki. Yeah, if knight g4, it's a little early for knight g4. So, I'm not a big fan of that. Interesting line. I had a guy I was working with who played this. Actually, he comes here sometimes. This guy, Espresso Forever. He's pretty good, almost master, and he played this a number of games, and it's pretty tough. Larson, I guess they call this like the Larson attack or something. Now knight g4 is a little more interesting for black, I would think. However, after knight g4, bishop g5, I'm not really sure what black's plan is, you know. I'm just going to play knight a6. Wait and see what you do, you know, and you commit yourself. a3. Okay, this is a mistake. This is a mistake. But you're white and you have the privilege of wasting a tempo if you want. So it's not like you've destroyed your position or something. Just not an incisive move. You know, this is not really a useful move for white. But again, I'm not sure what I should do. Knight g4, bishop g5. Then what? I don't have a pawn on e5. I don't like c5. I can play e5 here. I guess I have to play e5. Can I do that, though? And that kind of ending, maybe we can play something else. I mean, a3 might actually not be such a bad move. Some variations it could prove to be quite useful against the knight on a6. So I shouldn't openly like say this is just a wasted move. Okay, it's maybe not entirely wasted. It's not one of the best moves, but I could see some variations where that sort of works to your advantage. Not really sure what to do here. e5, d takes e5, d takes e5, queen takes d8, rook takes d8, knight takes e5. That sort of should be okay for black. I think I'm going to play this. I don't think this exchange variation is really dangerous for black. On the other hand, it would be an issue if I were playing a weak player in a tournament game. I don't think I'd want to let them trade queens into this kind of ending. We'll let Rajabov do that, you know, but I think I would want to play something to keep the pieces on the board. Rajabov knows his King's Indian theory. Exchange variation included. Another draw. It seems like my 23-14 fade is enough to tough draw. You was better here. Yeah, no, I think you should be satisfied with draw. You didn't really know the opening theory, and you know, like rook fd1, not great. You drifted into slightly worse, but you never completely, you never completely had a lost position. So I guess, for not knowing the opening theory really very much, I actually made a mistake first by playing knight takes d4. But once we transpose back into theory, you didn't really know the position that well, but managed to suffice. So here I think now black is okay. We've got the pawn on e5. Now we play knight g4. And now if bishop g5 we have moves. Queen e8 or even f6 probably. So we've got a kind of book position now where a3 is a little suspect for white. I was afraid of d takes e. Not afraid, but how do I win with black after this in this variation? Not really sure. But I decided to play it because it's principled. It's probably a principled move. But white could play other stuff, like d5, maybe. I just don't think that a3 is very useful in that d5 type position. I've got to learn to play the King's Indian again. Relearn the theory, because it's really been a long time, basically 10 years since I was playing King's Indian professionally, shall we say. I started trying to play the Nimzo Indian, Queen's Indian to get solid games with black. But if we find ourselves playing games where we have to win, I mean, the King's Indian is a good weapon to try to play for a win. I'm not sure it's a good idea for Van Foreest against a player like Ivan Sokolov to play the King's Indian, but he really should know his shit if he plays it. You know, it doesn't seem like he really knows what he's doing there. All right, well, we're gonna take our chances here with bishop takes e3 check. Black isn't a good place, obviously. We don't have to play for mate. I want to get my pieces in the game. Knight c5, and it's a disaster for white, obviously. Why wouldn't want to trade queens here? Because it gets too sharp, or what trade queens? Wouldn't want to trade queens here because it gets too boring and too hard to beat. Too hard to beat players, you know. I don't really like him trading my queen, but objectively e5 is the best move. Sokolov, but Sokolov is an opening expert, man. I mean, he's very, very dangerous. You know, especially with white. He's a huge theoretician, you know. So that's like not really the place to take him out in the opening, I guess. Rook f1. But youth is ever optimistic. Van Foreest is taking, you know, he's playing Sokolov in his territory, basically, fearlessly. At least he's learning something from the games, hopefully. Now what? Knight e6. Knight e6, there is an issue here with this knight d5, but we've got it covered, I think. Knight on c5, not a particularly well-placed piece there. Now, queen check and c6, something like that. Knight f4, playing for mate. Certainly interesting. Probably not bad. He could actually sack an exchange. Rook takes f4 and knight d5, but it's not enough for white. I feel like I'm like a little bit behind development. So the other problem is that what am I really threatening here? You know, I'm going to attack him with just 3 pieces. Not so easy to do. Not so easy, you know, to do. So I need to just be realistic. I'm up a pawn for nothing with a better structure. And I probably can't checkmate this guy. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with like admitting that you can't checkmate and just playing like a normal position, I guess. Knight takes e2 check. c6, bishop e6, and we're just better. I don't want to go out on a limb with like knight check and end up in some weird position with my knight on h3 and no threats per se. This is very important to stop knight d5. So we're just clearly better, basically winning. clear pawn up, better structure. I think there's a tendency that some players have, that I was tempted here too, to try to be macho, to try to checkmate the other guy because his king was on d4 a few minutes ago. But winning is winning, you don't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be artistic. I mean, you don't get extra points for creativity in chess. So I guess being practical like Magnus Carlsen is something to be said for that. Bishop e6. Yeah, good move, defending your pawn. And, well, I like the square. Ginger GM made a very instructive video on the g4 line. Yeah, pretty maniacal, actually. But Sokolov is known to play very, very sharply. Also, of course, against the Nimzo Indian, he's legendary in the classical Queen C2 Nimzo as a very psycho-aggressive type of player. He's not a boring player by any stretch of the imagination. One time I played him, I lost with white in a semi-Slav Moscow variation. It was pretty standard, actually. I just overextended myself and he just took me out. There wasn't really a whole lot to it. I think I had a better move there, right? Queen takes c3 was even stronger than winning the exchange. Oh well, we do miss tactics. Unfortunately, very often here. So guys, we're going to be streaming for another hour and 10 minutes or so, plenty of time. You do get extra for being creative. Well, there's not too many brilliancy prizes going around there, Railbird. Maybe you have it tuned in to this century, but I haven't been to too many tournaments lately where there were brilliancy prizes awarded. That is a consideration if it exists. But it would have been nice to live like 100 years ago or something. Then I would understand. But in a match like Sokolov's playing Van Foreest in Hugeveen, I mean, it's actually nice to see them really fighting, Because if this was like a normal tournament, the players start to turn into like, Kramnik and I like Vlad, but, sometimes he's really playing a lot of draws, a lot of players playing a lot of draws in tournaments, kind of protecting their ratings. So it is kind of fun to see. It's kind of fun to see people playing like Sokolov and Van Foreest kind of going crazy. But I think in some cases a little too crazy. So it's like watching a Shirov-Rapport game. That was funny in the Olympiad when Rapport got paired with Shirov and tried to play like Shirov, but he couldn't hang with Shirov in a Shirov type game. Because Rapport isn't really like that. I think Rapport has this kind of identity crisis or something. He's actually a really good technical player, and I think that positionally he's extremely strong. I think it's kind of going off subject now to a totally different thing. Like Richard Rapport, he's got this chess identity crisis. He wants to be Shirov, wants to be a wild attacking player, but he's actually very strong in logical positional chess. He didn't learn to play like this maniac style in Hungarian school. Queen takes c3. Alright, man. Draw, Nick. I like Vlad, and when he plays well, he can win without taking any risks. But sometimes there are a lot of draws. The last tournament was really bad when he played in the Tom Memorial. I don't know. I think it's just too much. It was too much. He played a lot lately, and he was totally out of form in Moscow. But anyway, guys, I haven't had time to look at the results lately. What's happening in the Russian Super Final? That's all she wrote, King Wiki. Yeah. But you were in trouble right out right out of the gate there when you played bishop d2. You know, abandoning your center. You have to play bishop g5, and then force me to play queen e8 or f6, and then the bishop can retreat depending on what I played. You know, if I play queen e8, you have to play like bishop c1 later, maybe, with like h6, bishop c1. The bishop sometimes goes to d2, and some Gligorich variations of the King's Indian, but you have to watch your d4 pawn, of course. So just a blatant oversight. Mule Skinner, Spieler, Sean Shah showed up late today. Azim Leisotari and Gilgamesh, the Babylonian hero, Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh. All right, Mule Skinner. Where did you go wrong, man? You just gave me your d4 pawn. Very simple. You played fine until then. Although I'm not a big fan of a3. I say that too much. This big fan of. Gotta stop saying the same phrases all the time. Just knight f3, something different. I'm playing e4. Somebody asked for the Scotch. I would play the Scotch, but now it's too late. I swear I'll try to play the Scotch next time. I can't promise people are going to play e5 against me, though. Scotch request person. Now I'll play e4. We'll try to play the Scotch, but it's too late. He can play e5, and it's like a Scotch. Does that count? Bishop g4. We had... No, I had the other day, like, with c4, not with e4, the so-called Wade defense. I'm not sure who I was playing against. Was it possibly Mule Skinner? Knight f3, d6. This kind of interesting move order. Michael Rode used to play this. There are a certain school of players who like, in particular, this d6 against knight f3. I can see that, you know. There's like a whole repertoire built around this, playing against knight f3 with d6. Pretty reasonable. And then here, I mean, I don't know, bishop e3 or bishop e2, they're both compatible-ish. Black's going to try to put the pawns on the same color as the bishop out on g4. So I think I'm supposed to play, like, sharply. I have a strong student, who played a line like this recently in an IM tournament. With white, he played h3, bishop h5, g4, I think. Let's give it a try. I think this is supposed to be critical, and also, like, white does similar stuff in the Nimzovich, where black plays like knight c6, which I played. Actually, I like the Nimzovich. I should play it more on the stream here with black. And the queen e2. This is my friend's game who I've been working with. I believe he played this in a recent IM tournament, but I can't swear up and down that this is exactly the right position. There might have been an additional move. I don't think so, though. It had to be, kind of had to be this exact position. I don't imagine what else it could have been. There could have been any additional moves, really. There's no time. I mean, white didn't have time to play any other moves. So this sort of had to be his game. And it's kind of a weird position. But I remember watching a player I respect a lot, Igor Foigl, play the white side of a Nimzovich with like h3, g4, and queen e2 type idea. This is one of the sharpest plans available to white. Who wins next week's battle in your opinion? God. You're asking the wrong person, man. I don't know. I don't follow these blitz matches very much. I don't really know. I mean, I've heard differing opinions, you know. Some people claim that Naka's stronger than Carlsen in blitz, and other people claim that Carlsen is as good as Naka and blitz. I don't know, you know. It's kind of tough. Carlsen's obviously the stronger player overall, but man, that's kind of a tough one. Knight h4, knight takes e4. That's a problem, right? So we can't do that right away. I'm kind of adapting to this position on the fly because I've never actually played it before. The bishop e7 also shields the black king along the e-file. However, now knight h4, bishop takes e4. Knight h4. Actually, it doesn't matter. Knight h4, knight takes e4. Doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter. I can't play knight h4 to try to take out his bishop on g6. But black's position looks a little bit passive. Still, I'm not so sure what I'm supposed to do here. g5 is not appealing because of knight h5. Or is it? I mean, he could play knight fd7 too. He doesn't have to play knight h5. His knight could get kind of trapped on h5. g5 looks inflexible. Knight h4 seems to lose a pawn. So I'm not really sure. I don't really want to commit to castling yet. And then finding a square for my bishop is hard to do as well. Bishop e3 is no good. So I talked about this yesterday. If you don't really, know what you're doing in the opening or whatever, I mean, a good way to find your way, basically, instead of just thinking incessantly in circles, is kind of like the POE, so the process of elimination. Every move you choose should be based on general fundamental principles, and it should also, be like a hierarchy. Let's find the best move by process of elimination here. A developing move that contributes constructively to my position. Bishop e3 drops a pawn. Bishop f4 is an interesting try, but I'm not sure what it does. It might just be a target on f4. Bishop d2 looks weak. Knight h4 is bad tactically, isn't it? As I sack a pawn or something. Knight h4, knight takes e4. Knight h4, bishop takes e4 even bothers me more. So we're running out of ideas. What about e5? Looks kind of overextending. g5, knight h5 looks sort of lame for black, doesn't it? g5, knight h5. We could try to trap the knight with like bishop f3 somehow. But how? Exactly. g5, knight h5, f4. I mean h4. g5, knight fd7. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what else to do at this point. I don't really like anything else, so I'm going to go with g5. We don't have that much time. It drives a piece away from the center. It may not be the best move, but I don't really like on the other moves. Any of the other moves for white at this point. So by process of elimination, we're going to play g5. Principled move, driving him back. It doesn't really contribute to my position per se, as I was saying, but it gains space, so that is a contribution of a sort. His knight can get trapped. I thought knight fd7 was safer for his knight, but not as safe for his bishop. Knight fd7, and if I play h4, he has bishop h5, and then I figure queen e3, unpinning myself. That was basically as far as I looked, and I thought it's like maybe queen d3, queen e3, or queen d3, unpinning. Chances for both sides. Knight e5. My d4 pawn is becoming an issue. Pawn takes pawn, knight e5. Pawn takes pawn, knight e5. It's not that clear. Knight e5. He takes and my d-pawn is hanging. But maybe I can just play bishop e3. Try to castle queenside or something. I'm going to give up on this plan of trying to trap his knight, basically. In order to do that, I would have had to play like e takes d, c takes d, knight e5. So I've gone on a different path here. I didn't expect that move. I guess that's a... Is that just a blunder? Knight d7. You just take and play bishop f3 and win a piece. That's what it appears. Knight d7 is a little too routine. I expected d takes e and some kind of sort of d takes e, bishop e3 was my point, and I will regain the pawn on e4 a little later on. Now here we could play bishop f3, but as Larry likes to say, if you see a good move, stop and see if you can find a better one, you know? So there's some argument for like pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn on d5. Or bishop f3. Bishop f3, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes h5. Queen takes d4. And we're up a piece, so I don't know, but a piece up to me, I don't see anything better than that. I could have played pawn takes pawn, but maybe that gives him time to try to save his knight on h5 somehow. f4 now. I didn't think about f4 now. Okay, I'm trying not to look at your comments so that, you know, I don't want to play suggestions from the peanut gallery. Just kidding, guys. No, I don't want to like get help from the viewers, so I never really try to look at the comments in a tense situation. But we are winning a piece here, for whatever that's worth. So it worked out, but I guess he should have tried knight on fd7. I'm gonna grab this guy. We'll lose a pawn or two, but that's the price we have to pay. No problem. I'll give up a piece for 2 pawns any day. I mean, yeah. 2 pawns for a piece. Bishop e3. I don't necessarily want to trade on g6 yet. We'll see where he goes here. I could just trade on g6 depending on where he goes. But I was hoping to maybe trap another piece. Maybe we can trap his bishop on g6 too. He went to e5. Okay. Maybe I should just take half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. I guess here. I'm going to castle. We are up a piece or 2 pawns, which should be enough to win the game. There was a suggestion of f4 from you guys at some point. That would have been interesting. It didn't occur to me. Only got a minute, and I'm trying to keep it simple, but he has a little bit of compensation. Now this move. So I think after that, I mean, I'm probably going to take on g6 here. This looks like he's a toast. But never say never. Rook d7 is strong too. We might also be able to play for mate. I think queen g4. He took it this way. But that e4 pawn is... The e4 pawn is going as well. So it's basically over. I also had rook d4. Maybe that's even stronger. So I guess this is probably some critical variation in this line. Once I had a game with I am Demo Werner from Germany. He had a stroke some years ago. He isn't been the same since, but he was a decent IM. Playing a lot here in First Saturday in Hungary. I think I might have played him in this line, but it was really long ago. Alright, so my game against Muleskinner, Spieler, Shan Shah, Azim Lisitari, and Gilgamesh. Hopefully we can play those 4 games. Do you think playing against a computer is good? Well, I think it's good. But maybe not exclusively. If you play too much with computers, it can probably beat you down psychologically. And I'm not sure that's good. So, I would play with humans and computers and try to mix it up. Around 15 years ago, a little less maybe, 15, 13 years ago, I was playing a lot with computers. But in the last 10 years, it's gotten to the point where the computers are so strong that, at that point, it was interesting. But it's gotten to the point where it's very degrading to lose every single game. Oh, he's the one asking for the Scotch. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so it is Scotch. Spieler was the one who wanted to play a Scotch. Alright, so bishop c5. If c3, queen f6. Against me, one of our regulars here, Geese, played bishop e3, queen f6, knight b5. I don't play the Scotch, but I know some lines, Knight takes c6 is one line. I'm not really sure what the idea is after knight takes c6. B takes c6. I know that there's knight takes c6, queen f6, queen d2, or queen f3. And, that's kind of interesting variation. Nigel Short played this Seth Rahman game at the Olympiad that I commentated with something like that. Bishop e3, queen f6. No, he played queen f6 right away. Okay, Short played queen f6 on move 4. And then knight takes c6 and some weirdness. But queen f6 is not the main move. I mean, obviously you can play the crazy queen h4 too. But for white, never playing this line with white. I know knight b3 is an old line. Knight b3, not my favorite square. Okay, well, we'll just go into, the main line. I don't know what else to do. Knight f5 may be some weird variation. Yeah, knight f5, d5. Isn't that a variation? Knight f5, d5, knight takes g7 check, king f8, or something ridiculous like that. I don't know. There's an old book I saw that in. Alright, bishop e3, main line, queen f6, c3, etc., etc. My knowledge of the Scotch is limited to a handful of blitz games like this where I tried to play it without knowing the theory and watching other people play. Oh, it wasn't you wanting it. Okay. So it wasn't you. I thought Spieler was the one who actually asked me to play the Scotch. Now I understand his messages. He wasn't the one who asked. Okay, well anyway, we're appeasing the fans here. Well, if you play e5, you have to be prepared for the Scotch, so. Yeah, the queen h4, well, I think if I, if people promised to play queen h4, I'd probably learn how to play the Scotch for white. Somehow, in principle, that doesn't seem right, does it? If you analyze the variations with queen h4, I'd give you $50 if you didn't find the variation where it was slightly better for white. Try true Blumenfeld attack. What is that? Magic in the Artan. Blumenfeld attack. What is Blumenfeld attack? Site update in progress means an extra 15 seconds for everybody. We didn't get our 15 seconds. What's up with that? That's weird. Usually there's a 15-second time bonus. Now d6 is very passive. This is not the typical move. That should be a good thing. Is there a problem with c7? It shouldn't really matter, should it? I still drop my e3 structure, and I don't think that knight b5 is all that big a deal. He could play queen back to d8 or something. It's not that horrible. Well, take on e3 and queen back to d8. So why is d6 not good? That's the question. Probably nothing special, just it's not as good as more flexible moves like knight e7 and knight e7 and knight e7. Oftentimes black tries to play d5, I guess, what's the refutation of d6? I don't know. Not really sure. Bishop e2 is probably the most solid move for white here. Let's take another moment to look for other ideas. Hard to get my queen's knight into the game, isn't it? Bishop e2 castles quickly. I mean, that's my intuition here. Really, queen g6 idea doesn't look that great. There's also bishop c4, but whatever. This move seems okay. Queen g6 now. Now I guess we have a lot of options. I could play knight d2, and after queen takes g2, I have bishop f3, sacking a pawn. His queen looks pretty dubious. Castle sacrificing a pawn. No, I mean, I'm going to castle bishop h3, though. That's the problem. I mean, it's not that bad, but bishop f3. What would Karpov do? There is g3. Queen takes e4 looks bad for black. g3, knight takes d4, pawn takes d4. g3, bishop takes d4, pawn takes d4. g3, bishop h3, probably. I have a lot of weaknesses. Castles, bishop h3. Bishop f3. King h1, knight takes f3, queen takes f3, etc., etc. Bishop g4. I'm not that excited about this. Feels like there's no obvious move for white that solves all my problems. Castles, I can't sacrifice in exchange, can I? Looks ridiculous. Knight d2, sacking a pawn. And I don't know. Guess I'm sacking a pawn here. 4 minutes behind on the clock. This doesn't look right, though. It looks like I don't really have enough compensation. This looks so sort of stupid for white. Man. Okay, I always have some kind of compensation. Why didn't you take this pawn? Why don't you take that pawn? I can't believe it. That looks really, really fine. No, I think you should take it hands down, no question. Thank you very much, sir, for the pawn. You should definitely take that pawn. Knight f6 is maybe not a bad move, though. Oh, man, what am I doing here? You guys had to ask me to play the Scotch for real. You have to know, I totally don't play the Scotch, guys, so if I make a fool of myself here, it's not my fault. I don't play this opening. I don't know what I'm doing. Castles, bishop h3. Looks ridiculous. Rook g1. Rook g1. Rook g1 looks ridiculous too. There's no way to attack his queen. It's like unbelievable. There's no way to attack this queen. Castles, bishop h3, bishop f3, knight e5, king h1, knight takes f3, queen takes f3, bishop g4. Okay, I don't see another line. I've got to play this. I've never played this opponent before either. He's 2100 in blitz, which is pretty solid. So, I mean, that has to be at least around 2000 FIDE. I don't know what I did wrong. In principle, it feels like I didn't make any mistakes, but I don't like my position at all. I think he could have just taken on g2 after bishop f3, queen h3, clear advantage to black. The black pieces here are pretty imposing. Bishop g4. Wow. I don't know if I like that move for black. Because it feels like now I got rid of my bad bishop. and everything's okay. So I think that I preferred knight e5 there for black instead of knight g4. And now I'm actually content with my position. I'm not saying I'm better, but I have the center, I have a solid structure, no bad bishop, room for my pieces, control of d5. I think that white is okay here. Rook f2, I don't know if that's the best move or not, but running out of time. I have just a few seconds per move. Oh, h5, a la Nigel Short. General principles. King h1, avoiding any kind of danger for the time being. And I don't know what to do. I'm just making knight b3. I hate the square for my knight, but gotta play a move. Gotta be willing to adapt. With very little time left on the clock. Relatively simple position. My advice to you is, if you find yourself in a situation with very little time, try to keep it as simple as possible. Guys, we have about half an hour left in the stream. Time for at least 2 more games. G4 possible there, but a little bit riskier than G3 maybe. But Spieler's played really well. Maybe not the best, but practical chess. And by playing fast, he's put me in immense time pressure. But increment is not sudden death, as you know. So never try to flag your opponent. Play for just time with an increment. I made that mistake at least once in my life. So c6. I hope my mouse doesn't freeze up on me. I was also thinking about pawn takes a5 in this position. Try to menace black as much as possible here. Oh man, come on. He's playing too well. Playing too well, man. I don't know who's better here. I'm not really sure. You guys can decide for yourselves. I'm not really sure. But I don't really like my king getting mated on the back rank anytime. Hopefully. The king back to the center for the Endspieler. Okay, now the time is equal. Okay, I don't understand. This sacrifice. Maybe he's got something like b6. I think he just blundered with f5. Alright, not sure. I don't think I'm going to play the Scotch again. I don't feel like playing the Scotch again anytime soon. Was Queen A2 a valid attack? Rook A8, King C7, Queen A5 check. Queen A2. I didn't see that idea. I didn't see the idea of getting my queen in there. Alright, I'm going to play E4, E5. Solid defense. This guy has an amazing score against me. 10.5, 15.5. I would say you'd have to be at least 2200 FIDE to score that. At least, but probably more. To make Shansha score against me. I'm not sure about his exact rating. He better be at least 2200 to have better than 66%. Well, okay. What was it? What would it be actually? 40%? 30? How much does he have? Like, well, let's see. 80. Let's see. What is it? Like 40% more or less. All right, Bishop B5. Yeah, I've been trying to play this. What did he do last time? It was like a quiet Lopez. I don't remember. Last time I played a Sicilian against Shansha yesterday. Had a good opening, but I lost in the time scramble through a blunder. I don't remember what happened in the last game when I played E4, E5. I have to play B5 or D6 there. Defending my E5 pawn. If you castle bishop takes C6, you lose a pawn. This is a very important opening, you know. I think I'm glad I started to play this for black because most of my life I haven't played E4, E5. And you guys saw last game in the Scotch I'm kind of clueless. I don't know enough classical openings. I've always played hyper-modern type stuff with black. I played D6. Oh, now I remember. He played... Did he play like C3, D4 last game? Yeah. Maybe a few days ago we had a game where I played D6, C3, castles, D4, bishop G4. And I didn't know the theory that well there. For 40%, he should be 70 points below you. Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a rating, so I don't know. He had another account. This is his second account that I've played against. He scored about the same with the other account. But he's very secretive. He doesn't tell us his rating. He doesn't really give us any info about his profile. That sounds about right, Mr. Burns. Yeah, he should be around 2300. 20. Yeah, more like 2300 than 2200. 22. Well, if I was 2370 FIDE, he should be around 2300. I think I'm stronger like 2400 FIDE. My FIDE is I'm a little underrated. We'll say he's playing like he's 2300 FIDE. He's very good in the opening especially, but not just that, he's fast. He plays blitz very well. Yesterday he beat me, in increment. We were down to increments. And he wins a lot of games. He plays very, very well in blitz situations. So not only is he very good theoretically, but he also blitzes pretty well. What, my ELO you were talking about? No, this player. After 26 games, you know if the opponent is good or bad, obviously. No, I mean, there's no question the player, Shansha, seems to be master strength. I don't know what he's thinking about here for 3 minutes. Why is he thinking for 2.5 minutes on this move? He sometimes had a bad connection. I don't know, in my mind, for some reason I imagine that the internet in all Scandinavian countries is like utopian. But I guess that's not the case necessarily. Iceland. How is the Icelandic internet, guys? Because sometimes he seems to have some connection problems. Bishop b7. Okay, it's not like mainland Scandinavia, like Sweden or Norway or something. Maybe they don't have as good internet in Iceland. I don't know. Bishop b7. I've been trying to learn one variation, basically, to play the Karpov-Zaitsev line with bishop b7. And last time he played this coffee house variation, knight g5, rook f8, f4, but I'm prepared for that now. So I don't know why he's doing this again. It's not really considered very good for white. But I didn't know what I was doing the first time. I don't really know what I'm doing the second time either. No, you have to take, and last time I did a stupid thing. I played like h6, but that's not really good. I don't know why he's playing this line. I mean, I don't think this is real chess, You should learn to play the normal main line. Last time I played h6, which is very dubious for black. So now knight d5. But it's supposed to be just a dead end. White has only a draw, in this line, and that's, maybe he wants a draw, but I thought we could get some interesting games, in normal chess after rook e8, knight d2, and all the main lines, But the second time he played this, and it's sort of, I guess one grandmaster might play this for white, like to force a draw against another grandmaster or something. It's not like a forced draw, but the resulting position I think is pretty worked out. Like I saw one game where Vallejo played this with white to make a draw against a stronger player. So like a 2700 might play this with white to make a draw against a 2800 player. I don't know, or a 2600 player might play this with white to make a draw against the 2700 player. But you remember poor Zibit had problems with his internet? Is it a problem? They have a serious problem there? I didn't know that. So, I mean, it's funny as a first time, but I don't understand why he's playing this again. Like, it's a nice surprise weapon when you play it the first time. So he has tricks. I mean, I can't win a piece here, or win a pawn. He'll just, win a piece. Queen f3 is some sort of trick variation. It doesn't look all that great, though. Not really sure what the idea is for white. He's not really got any threats. Is there a threat? I mean, if there's no threat, I should play knight c4. I don't imagine how he has a threat here. I suppose I could also play queen f6. But knight c4 seems more constructive, getting my piece into the game. Now this is hanging. Maybe there's some kind of tricks. But I still got queen f6 in reserve. If he has some tricky tactics with like c4, I don't see that though. Yeah, I could see some tricky tactics there. But white's position looks really ugly. It looks really ugly. A lot of weaknesses. This is weak. This is weak. The king side's a little bit weakened. But Paschall always sees all the tactical tricks and stuff, like knight takes here, queen d3, threatening mate. And he's got knight c3 next. It seems like best play so far. Queen h4 is also no good. But so I have to play this. It seems like with all these weaknesses in the position. Now knight a3, that is a sort of bad looking move. I thought he has to go knight c3, but maybe there's some kind of problem. But knight a3 looks ugly. Queen h4. Can't remember the last time I beat him. Oh, I did win one game. Not long ago. So I've got queen d4, queen h4. Actually, knight takes c4 still loses a piece, right? Knight takes c4, knight takes c4, bishop takes d5. Almost works, but so he has like queen f1 there hanging on. Queen d4. Queen d4 could be strong. But again, he's like hanging on with maybe queen f2. Queen f2. And queen f2, queen d2, queen rook d1 is, it looks sort of bad for white actually. Queen, all of his pieces are protected though. After queen d2, queen rook d1, all of his pieces are protected. Even this stupid knight on a3 is protected. And slowly he'll gain the time back and win. Sort of what happened last game. I had a really good opening and then I just couldn't find a way to put him away. Queen h4. Black is slightly better here, but I'm not sure I have anything concrete. Queen d2, queen h4. Queen h4, rook e4. I could also try to reposition my pieces with something like bishop c8, knight d7, knight f6. It doesn't look really critical. Queen d2. queen d2, rook d1. Isn't clear to me what my plan is there, actually. So maybe queen h4 is better. Anyway, we're just running out of time. I don't know. I don't find anything. Play queen f2. Instantly. Now what? Maybe a5, bishop a6. I could end up being worse if I'm not careful here. Alright, now we have less time. I could always play c6, just giving up my advantage, the theoretical advantage I thought I had. But I think my advantage is just an illusion. I don't think I'm really better here, despite the ridiculous looking knight. a4. Well, we have ideas of a4, but I'm not sure what it really does, ultimately. He's threatening c5, so can't let him just sit there and play c5 and steamroll me. Guys, we have time for one more game after this. For today, for this week. Why did he take with king? He had to. He was gonna lose the pawn on c4. Perfect move. Now I think I have to shift. No, I'm gonna drop a pawn if I do that. Alright, let's bring the king toward the center. As long as he's on my a4 pawn, I have to, yeah, now I can shift maybe. Knight d7. He's playing like perfectly this game. I would say like 2400. Just a masterful play for white now. Like in Zugzwang. I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna lose. I guess I'm just gonna lose here. I don't know what to do. Well, c5. All right. We're hitting his a pawn. It's like we can probably hold on here. I'm just happy to draw. I think I was on the verge of losing. I'm not sure c6 is the best move or not. My king is fairly close here. Yeah, draw is okay. Good game, man. Rain is starting, so this is last game, guys. Azim Soitari. The final position, his king is too strong. My king is cut off. Pawn up, but I have very little hope of winning there. I thought he might even be better if he doesn't play. If he plays like a sharp move, maybe with his king and pawn, it could be. I have to be very accurate to defend there. I don't think I have any winning chances. I think I was worse. So Azim Soitari, let's play d4. Last game for today. I think that was a pretty good game, but I'm thinking I'm worse at the end. Once his king gets to the center, I had my chances, but I missed them. Azim Soitari, this is the Marshall defense. It's not really good for black. But there's interesting variations. Knight takes d5, knight f3, g6, and now h3. And I was looking in the lichess database, and like, it's surprising to me, you know, like nobody knows about the move g6, h3. That's actually kind of a secret move. Secret move. Knight c6 looks like it's just bad because of e4, d5. You can't do knight c6. I'm gaining too many tempi here with e4 and d5. You have to play g6 and then h3. Another possible move that's very interesting, I was analyzing the other day, is bishop f5. This was played by the late Dr. Danny Kopek against me. And now I found a very interesting line. Once against Kopek, I played knight d2. He played knight back to f6. And then queen b3, queen c8. And this was like a banter game online many years ago. And I didn't know what to do, but the computer suggests a variation with knight d2, knight f6, queen b3, queen c8, e4, sacrificing a pawn. So if anybody wants to investigate that line of the Marshall defense, White has an enterprising pawn sacrifice there with knight d2, knight f6, queen b3, queen c8, e4. And I was looking at it, it's pretty fascinating. And White has quite reasonable compensation. Knight on bd2, another chess encyclopedia recommendation. You know you're old when you get your recommendations from the chess encyclopedia. The written form, e4. So black's just in a bad way here after e4. Gilgamesh is like, damn it. And Ghostmind usually shows up when the stream is about to end and challenges me. Yeah, Gilgamesh. I feel your pain. That was a long game with Shanshaw. Very, very stressful. But I don't understand why he's playing that line. It looks very like nothing for him. Now there is an interesting possibility here. d5, knight takes e4. But I have the feeling there's some kind of trap in that position. I'm just not sure what it is. I'll let you guys know when I figure it out. D5, knight takes E4. What can be? Like queen D3? I have the feeling that this is some position I've seen somewhere. D5, knight takes E4, D takes C6, knight, queen takes D1's okay for him. But I think I have some in-between move. D5, knight takes E4. Some sort of trap for white. Oh, okay. So, yeah, maybe that's it. You're going to hang the knight on E4 no matter what. So if I play... Right. So if I play D5, I have some tricks. D5, knight takes E4. Isn't good for black. Yeah, I remember now. Somehow I saw this position in my travels, but not something you see every day. Isa Vulpis. Good luck. Thank you. Yeah, so if he takes on E4, I play like bishop E3. I think defending F2 and leaving both his knights hanging, because the knight move, any knight move, I play queen A4 check and win a piece. This in-between move. The quiet move, the quiet killer. So, now black has a difficult position, but not necessarily hopeless. He's lost time. He's lost time, but it's not hopeless. Either E6 or C6, I'm not sure which one is best. And now bishop E5 check. Perhaps simplest, some kind of developing move. With C6 takes. You could play bishop G5. Bishop G5, bishop E7, and then bishop B5 check. Is that better? You could also play bishop G5, pawn takes pawn E5 though. Looks kind of dangerous for black. Bishop G5, bishop E7, bishop B5 check there. Maybe that's better. I'm not sure if it's better to play bishop B5 check first, or to play bishop G5 followed by bishop B5 check. I guess this seems like it might be slightly better because my rook can recapture the queen on D1. That's my thinking here. I don't really want to have to like play king takes D1 in an endgame situation. And now check. We don't have that much here, but it's something. Some sort of advantage. Interesting to see, the theory of something like, yeah, I mean, you get a lot of it. Like, I used to play blitz for money in a cafe for years in my previous life. And before I became a world famous chess player, playing a lot of guys in the cafe, you encounter things like the martial defense a lot, and not just in the cafe but later online. I mean, it's a very typical amateur opening, so it's something that if you're a D4 player, you really need to work it out. A lot of people play this. It's a very, very popular opening amongst people who don't know theory. You know, they like to play d5 because it feels active, but their center is not supported. So it's important that white knows the theory. But, you know, the best is probably what Kopak does with like bishop f5 or g6, which is in the Grunfeld style. This isn't really good for black. I mean, knight c6 is just a question mark move. He loses a big waste of time with knight b8, and he's almost lost, but not quite. King f8, I mean, I think that it's better to play c6 there. I don't know why king f8 is necessary. But he's decided that he likes the idea of, I mean, I kind of actually understand. He's gonna like not sacrifice his structure. Instead of sacrificing structure, Azim Lusitari is gonna sacrifice his king being able to castle, and that's pretty logical actually. All right, well, I'm going to help him develop his pieces here a bit. Knight d4. I'm going for the futo. We call this a futo in Maduro. In Hungarian, futo. White has a little something. It's not an enormous advantage. I might be able to play even e5 there, come to think of it. Well, it would be better to try to get an e5 later. You know, if you try to play some bishop c8, and e5 might become really like winning for white. He can't play bishop b4. Knight takes e6 check, followed by rook d8. Winning is rook on h8. It's hard to find an active move. Unpleasant position at best for black. What's the downside of bishop d7 and trade for black? Well, the downside was that I was going to take on e6 and destroy his pawn structure. Not the exchange itself. Yeah. Okay, so now here we are. White is much better. Karpov was in like heaven here. I was going to play e5. Now, wait a minute. Maybe e5 is just strong. Karpov is loving it. Loving it like McDonald's here. e5. It looks pretty good, actually. This really ought to win material. I mean, d5 is no longer contested, so now he's really got to play an ugly move, I guess. It looks like we won the battle for the center. Now it's a matter of tactics. Look at central control here is just totally dominated by white. Every single square we own. If the center is important, then we're going to win this game. Knight e8. I expected knight g8. Maybe knight e8 is better. Feels like there should be some kind of study-like shot here for white, but I don't see it. Oh no, this is just, man, unbelievable. I don't see it. Knight e8 defends c7, that's the point. Well, he could have played knight g8 to take back with a knight on e7. So now, I don't know, bishop f4, keeping pieces on the board. No, we have tactics. Bishop takes d7, bishop takes g5. Not that clear. Bishop takes e7. Man, this is really weird. I don't see how to win. I don't see how to win by force here. It's really strange, but I'm just going to play a principled move because I don't see a calculatable forced win. Calculatable. I was looking at like really bizarre variations. Probably there's something there stronger than bishop f4. But I don't think c6 is... I wouldn't play c6. It looks... I don't know. It just looks like you should somehow trade a pair of pieces. But I see you have knight c7 maybe. Alright, I don't know. We're much better, but I'm like pulling my hair out trying to find a forced win for white, and it's just eluding me. So I have to go back to boring land and just try to technique this. Very disappointing not to find a forced win. I'm sure it was there, I just didn't see it. We need to do more tactics training. Guys, we'll be back Sunday with a simul, 6:30 p.m. CEST. Don't forget to check out my YouTube videos and my uploads from the stream on my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training. Don't forget to support the stream if you can via PayPal, link in the Twitch, and also on my YouTube. Much appreciate anybody who can help me out by supporting the stream. Bishop b6 here. Well, it looks like he's just kind of collapsing. He's collapsing. He gave me the g5 pawn. Psychological collapse. I had knight e4 there, strong too. So bishop c5 was like his first. Really weird move. Now there's a tactical threat of some sort here. Maybe knight e4. No. Okay. Try not to panic now. 26, 25, 24. He's got this idea. That is really annoying, man. 19, 18. Gotta be kidding me. What a stupid situation. I can't find a move to meet the threat of bishop takes d4 and knight f5 there. I have to play knight b3, pulling my knight away from the center. This is completely not what I wanted to do in this position, but I didn't see anything better. Now, castles or bishop h4, f4. Snapping a pawn when in doubt. When in doubt, I just turn into a materialist. His bishop doesn't have a lot of squares. He's pretty fast, but this piece doesn't seem to have anywhere to go. That should end the doubt here. There's no doubt about the result now. Just totally. I should have played maybe f6 check. Still no mate. It's pretty ugly. Pretty ugly. Ooh. Friendly neighborhood pawns. Not good. Alright, thank you for the game, sir. We'll be back on Sunday with Simul. Support the stream. Check out my YouTube channel. Thank you, Jeroen, for being here. And thanks everybody for watching. It was a lot of fun, as usual. Hopefully instructive for everybody. And some exciting games, too. I don't think it was easy for me. A couple of draws against the stronger players in the stream. And a lot of interesting stuff going on today, including my very experimental game with white in the Scotch on request. Not my usual opening. So thanks again, guys. We'll see you on Sunday. Check it out then. 25 players, 40-40 simul on lichess at 6:30 p.m. CEST. See you later. Bye-bye.